I am here with Samantha Ettus. Thanks so much for talking with us here at MomFair TV.
Thank you for having me.
Now you're going to talk to us about work-life balance, which I think is something every working mom really has a hard time with. I'd love to know maybe 3 or 4 tips that you have for moms that have returned back to work and are really trying to have that balance between work and home.
Sure. I think one of the critical things is having a partner, either being a single mom or having a partner who really is a 50-50 partner. It's almost impossible to reach your full potential if your partner isn't on board with your dreams and your goals.
Right.
That's one thing. The second thing is realizing that it does take a village and putting in the time to get that village together, meaning finding 2 moms at each of your kids' schools in their grades that you can count on. You do favors for them, they do favors for you, they maybe have similar values to you, you just know that you can rely on them. So that takes work, putting in the energy to get those relationships going. And it's even more critical for working parents than for non-working parents, because you might need a ride or whatever it is, you really want to do things for each other and have that village to rely on. And that's something you can build. I always like to say, do Sunday night dinners. Invite another family over every Sunday night, and that's how those relationships really form well. And then I also like to say working parents should really use the golden hour. So wake up an hour before the kids wake up so that you are ready to go, you feel good, you have time for coffee or paper, whatever you like to do in the morning, whatever your routine is. And then by the time they wake up, you're hitting the ground running rather than feeling like you're a step behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are some great tips.
Okay.
What would you say some of the biggest challenges that you've seen are for women who, say, have been out of the workforce and are returning to work and suddenly they have a family? What are some of the biggest challenges that women run into?
Well, one of the biggest things is something we do to ourselves, which is guilt, right? I mean, there is literally nothing useful about guilt. And I like to say to women, there's 2 kinds of working moms, right? There's a kind that's like, I'm so sorry for working, and they have a kid tugging on them as they're walking out the door. You could be that mom, that's your choice. Or you could be the mom who says, I'm going to my responsibility, which is my career, and I'm going to be doing this, and then I'll come home and I'll tell you all about what I did today, and I love what I do, and it's exciting, and I get contribute to the family that way. And then the kid becomes proud of you, and it's not an everyday thing. And so I think one of the things is how we frame work, right? Because it's something, you're a role model to your children. So if you could replace every time you're feeling guilty, say to yourself, I'm a role model, and you'll feel a whole lot better.
That just makes it such a positive experience and has all positivity surrounding it as opposed to guilt.
Well, our kids emulate us, and so we want our kids to grow up and be financially independent, thriving adults. And so what better way to do that than to show them that we're doing it ourselves?
How can employers help in this sort of balance, like the work, companies?
Yeah. So companies need to create more family-friendly environments. And what does that mean? It means that you work hard when you're there, but it's not about FaceTime. And when a company focuses too much on FaceTime, then they weed out really valuable employees. And it's critical to realize that just because you have no personal life, like maybe you're single or you're in your 20s or 30s and you haven't found someone or whatever it is that you've chosen to live a life without children, people who have really strong commitments to their family outside of work, they really care about working their butts off when they're at the office and then maybe having some downtime when they're not. And so one of the things that's so critical is to make sure that as an employee, you set your own limits and you don't wait for the company to do it. And people are afraid to do this, but you'd be surprised at how often people respect your boundaries if you live as though you're going to a train every afternoon, even though you don't live near a train.
Right.
It really helps people because people like predictability. At home, whoever's taking care of your kid needs that predictability if you're returning home every day, most days by 6, whatever time it is. And at work, people, if they know that you have to leave the office at 5:15 every day, they're less apt to throw something on your desk at 5 or to schedule a meeting at 5. But if you don't set those limits, it's a little bit like death by 1,000 cuts.
What a great tip, to set your own limits.
Yeah, and don't wait for the company to do it. A big mistake we think is a lot of people will steer women towards family-friendly industries. And at the end of the day, it's all about family-friendly bosses. Yeah. And so if you work for a great boss, it can be in any industry, and bad bosses are in any industry. And if you have a boss that doesn't value his or her personal life, there's no way they're going to value yours.
That's great.
So,
You have a book coming out.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yes, it's called The Pie Life, A Woman's Recipe for Success and Satisfaction. Mm-hmm. And it's coming out in September. I'm thrilled about it. It's the same publishers who do Dr. Phil's. It's his in-house publisher, his son's publisher. They do 5 personalities books a year. And this book is really all about work-life wellness. It's a really positive take on how to create a lifestyle that works for you to have a thriving professional and personal life at the same time. And it gives women all the tools they need to do that. And so it incorporates a lot of my own personal stories and then personal stories of the women I've interviewed, from Shonda Rhimes to the editor-in-chief of Marie Claire, Ann Fullenwider, Sally Krawcheck, just amazing women are in the Gail King, tons of wonderful women. And we all share similar struggles, and all of the women I've interviewed for this book have really fulfilling, wonderful, full lives, and that includes a career and a family.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you so much
for joining us here at MomFair TV.